DW Africa Link.
It's very unfortunate in Nigeria that these things are happening within and around us. The Nigerian government has to be vigilant and proactive. Something like that cannot exist without somebody from the government awareness.
A previous version of this episode that went on air did not make it sufficiently clear that Adeniyi Matthew had not been charged in court. Because Africa Link is committed to presenting information accurately and responsibly, we've revised that episode. It's a scandal the Nigerian government is yet to wrap its head around. The establishment and operationalization of an alleged fake agency, led by an alleged fake director general. But this agency has, in the name of the Nigerian government, held diplomatic and investor meetings. It has received a budgetary allocation of about 1.3 billion naira, approximately $950,000 for its office in the 2026 budget, and has also received a government waiver to recruit more staff. But now Nigerians are waking up to find that this agency never existed in government records. It has no legal mandate, no presidential approval, and no record in the federal system. So how did all this happen? That's what's coming up on today's show. This is Africa Link, the podcast that connects you to the stories that matter across Africa. I am Adwoa Tenkoramaa Domena, your host for today.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
We're talking about Nigeria's Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council, or PFIPC, and its Director General Adeniyi Matthew. In early July, President Bola Tinubu ordered an investigation into the so-called council's origins and operations. That investigation revealed that the agency was established and managed using forged appointment letters and bank accounts. The man in charge of it, Adeniyi Matthew, reportedly claimed that Tinubu himself had appointed him. He has since been arrested and is due to face court on charges that include forgery, fraud, and impersonation. Today we want to unpack the whole scandal, how it started, and what this case reveals about institutional vulnerability in Nigeria. For this discussion, I'm joined by Emmanuel Bagaiya. He's a political analyst, and DW's Ben Shemang in Abuja. Ben, what exactly is the PFIPC, and how are we hearing that it was a government agency and now it's not?
Thank you very much. Yes. It represents Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council. And once upon a time, during Buhari's time, it existed. But when President Buhari died, because it was rather almost like an advisory body, it was never run on a budget, so to speak. So when President Buhari died, it is presumed that body also died, but it was never removed, so to speak, from government files.
There was a point this agency posted on their Instagram, and I'm going to read just a bit of that statement. It says, "Thank you, Mr. President. We are growing because you believe in us." And this was an extension of heartfelt gratitude to the President Bola Tinubu for graciously approving 1, the waiver to recruit additional 314 staff, 2, the establishment of PFIPC offices in all 36 states of the Federation, and 3, the rollout of 127 global offices across the world. If this government thinks it's a fictitious agency, how then did it approve all these things for the agency?
When he started having some meetings with ambassadors, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs raised an eyebrow. what is happening to this agency that is supposed to be under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? The Director General is not taking directive from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Apart from that, there's also the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council. The man also took over their job. So these people wrote to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, said, we need clarification. Who is this man and what is this agency all about?
Very interesting. Emmanuel, I'm going to bring you in. As a political analyst, how does all of this sound to you when you first heard it? In a normal system, can this happen?
Absolutely not, because when there is due diligence and when actors in government are alert to their duties, this kind of thing ought not to happen. For one, starters, appointment letters of this nature are supposed to come not from the Chief of Staff's office, and they are supposed to come from the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And I believe the due diligence exercised both by Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Nigerian Investment Promotion Council, NIPC, that's what first flagged this as something must be wrong. So ordinarily, it ought not to have happened if everybody was alert to their duties.
I'm going to return to you shortly, Emmanuel, but Ben, we understand in the 2026 budget, there was space for his agency to the extent that an amount of close to $1 million, $950,000 was approved for his agency. What can you tell us about this?
Well, that is the $1 million question many people are asking. Now, if you go to the House of Representatives, there is what is called a committee to oversight or to kind of always see what every ministry or government agency is doing. The same thing goes to the Senate. Now, how come that the committee that is supposed to oversight that, to see that agency, didn't see all of this? And when you're talking about budget, as you've spoken about, there's usually supposed to be what you call the budget preparation, then the budget presentation, and you submit to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That was not submitted to Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so so much things went wrong. They went awry, and again, why was it that nobody ever bothered to cross-check, not until the Chief of Staff smelled a rat and wrote the anti-corruption agencies, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the same thing with the ICPC, to investigate, including the police, to investigate this agency.
Who is this man that we are talking about, and from where did he come? Do we know anything about him, and do we also know the charges, for instance, that he's facing at the moment?
But he's from Osun State, Osogbo in particular. He calls himself Prince Adeyemi Adeniyi Matthew, and there's no balance that traces his princehood to. And of course, he's an ordinary Nigerian who is shaking everybody, shaking the Nigerian image, shaking the government of Nigeria at home and abroad.
And in fact, a couple of stories I have read, which I'm going to ask you about, has attributed to him saying or denying all of these accusations. He says that the council was lawfully set up in 2024, like you rightly said. He also says that he was properly appointed and that it is rather senior officials that are demanding bribes for him to secure his job, and he is not giving these bribes, for which reason they are trying to find him and make him look like a criminal. What have you heard about all the denials that he has made in public?
Yes, you see, when it was clear that these allegations heaped on him are that heavy, he went into hiding and further alleged that his life was under threat because he had said that he gave the chief of staff to the president 600 million naira, and there was still a balance to be paid of 200 million naira. And because that balance wasn't paid, and that was why the chief of staff was all over him. Incidentally, he ran to a social media influencer. They call him very dark man in Nigeria, and he offered to give an explanation. So when the dark man asked him, do you know Bagaiya Miller? He said, yes. Have you met him one-on-one? That was where the issue started coming online. He said, no, he had not. Okay, who did you give the money you are alleging to? Did you give it to him? He said, no. You gave to who? He said he gave to a friend. Who is that friend? He said the friend was dead. Is it that's an issue? So now, did you ever call Bagaiya Miller, the chief of staff to the president, and you spoke one-on-one? He said no. So how are you conducting yourself with him? How are you contacting him? He said via that same late friend. How did the friend die? He said in an inferno in a hotel. And so far, there is no hotel that has claimed that there was fire outbreak in that hotel. So quite a lot of things are being unearthed here, and look, as alleged, the truth will come. And when he went into hiding, the police had to even arrest his father and some of his family members, and at that point, he resurfaced. So today he's in custody and he's been charged to court.
Emmanuel, talk to us about how serious this scandal is. I was earlier mentioning that I have taken a cursory look at the agency's Instagram page, and you have seen he has met with a lot of investors from China, from India, from Vietnam. How serious is this issue?
It is a very, very serious matter. Signals a failure of due diligence across very many agencies of government. And it portends a lot of danger, because it means that it may not be just this case that is in play. For example, how could a 1.3, you said almost $1 million allocation in the federal budget of 2026 be given while this guy was under prosecution already? That suggests to me that this couldn't have been done without insider activity. There are people in the various agencies of government that are probably individuals compromised. This guy must be able to bribe his way around to do these things so that processes are circumvented. It is not possible to have done this without insider knowledge. So, for example, the bank account in Central Bank and 34 other bank accounts required that there should have been what we call the KYC, Know Your Customer process, which necessitates that at least interpersonal interaction take place with signatories. Originals of registration and appointment documents are vetted and seen and cited. If these were not done, how did this guy establish these accounts, for example?
Interesting. Does this have any impact at all on Nigeria's foreign image?
Definitely, it does. Why? How do you imagine that the ordinary person would now perceive government, even if the issues are clarified eventually? Secondly, even internationally, there is the perception index of corruption that is being triggered on alert. And that can have ramifications, not just international relations. It can have ramifications on even international finance because bond prices will probably go up. Nigerian issue bonds would be priced at a higher level because of the perception of corruption. Perception is one thing, reality is another, but perception sometimes predominates decision making, especially in the arena of finance and politics.
Interesting. Now, Ben, touch on a bit briefly about what Emmanuel was saying in terms of the insider work or people suspecting that there are people in government who were, supporting this. Have you heard this speculation? And what can you say about it before we go to the court's appearance?
Yes, it's all over the place because a crime of this magnitude cannot be done by just one person. Because in Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where he was already applying for not verbal, of course, the red flag was already there. The signpost was there that something was fishy.
Right. Thank you so much, Ben. Emmanuel, let me return to you for your last contribution. We can talk about the problem, what went wrong, who didn't do what for a long time. But what I want us to focus on now, briefly as we wrap up, is what can be done to fix the situation. For you, what reforms do you think Nigeria should start implementing immediately, to prevent any of such incidents from happening in the future?
First and foremost, just as the process has already begun, proper investigation process by which appointments are verified by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Secondly, there has to be an improvement on the authentication of budget lines by the Office of the Budget Office of the Federation and the National Assembly. I understand there's already an oversight committee in National Assembly, but if it had done its work, or probably it did, and probably there is still an insider play there, if it is not strengthened, if this authentication process is not strengthened, we'll continue to see things like this. But thirdly, how could there be such an account at CBN without a proper KYC process? Somebody inside was playing games, and there has to be proper accountability. And lastly, prosecution of cases like this have to be taken to the final conclusion. But for perception purposes, I don't imagine that ICPC is the best person, the best entity to investigate this occurrence. Perhaps an independent investigation panel would be more credible, and the perception by the public and even international would be better if that was the case, because ICPC is still also government in a sense, and then insiders are still at play. Like we have said before, this couldn't have happened without insider play. And so an independent investigation panel with credible individuals, civil society organizations, notaries publics, forensic auditors, etc. This will give a perception of independence and credibility to the investigation.
Right. Thank you so much for your time, Dale Emmanuel Bagaiya. He is a political analyst. Earlier, you heard DW's Ben Shemang joining us from Abuja. Gentlemen, grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
The PFIPC scandal is more than a case of forged documents. Experts like Emmanuel Dale Bagaiya believe it's a wake-up call for Nigeria, as it exposes how fragile institutional trust can be, how easily official authority can be imitated, and how urgently Nigeria must strengthen its systems of verification and accountability.
For we having a fake agency in this system, is not a new thing to me. Since the government is bad, we should expect more. Because they can't tell me that, or they can't tell us, or tell the country that they don't know the root of that agency. An agency cannot just create an agency on its own. It must team or gang up before that agency must be there. And you are talking about money. Where are they getting the money from? It's our money. It's the citizen money. They are using it to build up themselves. It's because we have bad government. That is why they cannot easily or quickly detect that such agency is there.
Actually, it can be a one-man show, because for an agency to be created, it needs some other people's support. And if what we want is that the federal government or whosoever agency that will be responsible for the finding out or to probe in this scandal should go thoroughly, because it goes beyond the man in quote, the Adeyemi, that's the head of the agency. It goes beyond him. There are some other people that will help him. Because if you will look at it now, how does the budget escape through the National Assembly? When did they defend it? How do they pass it? Or does it mean that it did not go for budget defense? These are the things that we need to look into, or the government need to look into, so that they can be able to fight the corruption to the letter. It's not just about picking a particular person and you said you want to punish him. Whosoever that is involved should be brought to book.
I think it's another opportunity for the government to reevaluate, the entire system. When things like this happen, it's always good to take time, investigate, find out, who is behind all these things. And corruption is not something that we can eradicate, but we could minimize it to the barest minimum. And I believe it's another opportunity for the government to redouble its effort in the fight against corruption.
Thank you so much.
Nigerians should be worried about such agencies, because this one particularly came out because there was a disagreement between parties. Now, when there is no disagreement, it means a lot of public funds will be siphoned. So Nigerians really need to rise up and continue to demand for accountability from all these agencies. We at the Center for Fiscal Transparency and Public Integrity have, for the last 6 years, run a transparency and integrity index where all these issues ought to be in the public domain. I will be ranking all these agencies, and data from the last 6 years clearly shows that the level of compliance with accountability mechanisms across all federal agencies at the federal level and the subnational level is really very low. So we need to do more to ensure that there is more accountability by proactively disclosing information that should be in the public domain, not that it should come from a whistleblower. Lastly, the Office of the Secretary to the State Government, who is responsible for most of these agencies, needs to make sure he's publicizing all their information and activities of every government agency in compliance with the law.
Share your thoughts with us on Facebook and on TikTok at DW Africa. Listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel. This show was co-produced and edited by Isaac Mugabe. I am Adwoa Tenkoramaa Domena.
DW, made for minds.